You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
Good afternoon, Steeler Nation. It's The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. Wes Uhler and Matt Williamson with you here for the next 2 hours on your 24/7 home of the black and gold, fresh off a bye week, but plenty to talk about. Matt, how we, I know we've been saying this for like the last 2 or 3 weeks, but I'm going to keep saying it in hopes that it's working. Another incredibly unseasonably warm day here in West. It's like 80-some degrees outside, and it's October 6th.
So Dale and I always had this running thing going about the lantern flies or whatever they are out there. How many did you kill on the way in? They're still kicking, man. I mean, it's like well into October now, and I'm like hot walking in. The sun's beating on me. There's lantern flies, the smush. I mean, it was. I thought the exact same thing.
The last couple weeks, I've been thinking to myself, I better wear shorts again today, because who knows how many more times I'm going to get to wear shorts, until April. But yeah, unbelievable. The weather has been fantastic. It's almost too warm for this time of year, but not complaining. Better than rain, better than
I mowed the lawn 2 days ago. I mean, like, it's crazy.
My wife's been on me to cut the grass here. I think I might have to do that maybe tomorrow morning before we get back to work. But it was a nice bye week. Great weather here in Western Pennsylvania, and a happy Steelers fan base as the team sits at 3-1. And Matt, I don't think you can say the same about the rest of the AFC North.
That's the topic of the day for the Steelers.
It has to be.
Yeah, you
are sitting pretty as pretty could be at this point for the first week in October.
For the first week in October, and we should probably talk about each team. And obviously, we're going to talk about the Browns a lot all week, so I don't want to look over them.
You want to start there and.
Yeah, because I think they're the best of the three right now.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm not trying to be spicy, but I mean, like, who would you rather play against right now? I think the Browns are my last choice.
When you frame it that way, I think that's absolutely a fair statement to
make. Yeah, I actually think they're doing some encouraging things. Like, there's a little bit of optimism there. Especially when compared to preseason expectations for all three teams,
which is a big key part of this.
Of course.
But I don't think that that's an insane statement by you. In fact, now that I've had about 30 seconds to think it over, I think you might be right. I would certainly rather play the Bengals this weekend than the Browns.
I might rather play the Bengals than anybody in the league. I mean, they're getting to that point. I mean, the Ravens and Bengals look like they don't care, at least on Sunday.
Until Lamar's back, especially, you wouldn't fear that Ravens team right now in the absence of him, plus all the other injuries that they have. I think that's a completely fair statement. The Browns' defense is legit.
It's probably the best unit in the division.
And nasty.
Of the eight offenses and defense, it's the best one to me.
The
offense is near the bottom. Well, those other two teams are bad at everything.
Terrible.
Right now. They're just so bad at everything right now.
But they have a legit defense, and they have a legit running back now, and Quinshon Judkins as well, too.
I'm really shocked by him. Right.
I mean,
not shocked, but I'm impressed.
Because it's not the same. I don't think Cleveland's offensive line is a disaster, but it's not the strength that it was when Nick Chubb was running behind to great success. I think
he's getting a lot on his own and schemed up, and well, again, we'll talk so much Browns, but I really dug into them today. Almost all of his passes went to tight ends. They're very quarterback-friendly scheme. But Judkins is the motor. I mean, he's the engine. Their left tackle situation's a disaster. But the other four are okay, and the offense is bad, don't get me wrong. But that defense should keep them in a lot of games, like it did against Minnesota.
And they're well-coached.
They are well-coached, yeah.
That defense has kept them in every game. It's a big reason why they beat they beat the Green Bay Packers a couple weeks ago. And again, even though that their record is not great and they've lost plenty of games, it's not like they're getting boat raced in those games. They're not getting embarrassed. They're all low-scoring tight games.
Yeah.
I do think that's fair to say that if you could pick any team to come to Acrisure Stadium this weekend, it'd be the Bengals and the Ravens ahead of the Browns.
100%. Now, I'm not accounting for the fatigue of coming from overseas without a bye. I'm just talking about how you're playing right this minute. Who would I rather play this yesterday? Wherever. And the Browns would be my last choice of the three, and which is amazing to say. So, big picture Brown stuff, they've played the most rookie snaps of any team in the league. which probably shouldn't shock anybody. And that was even before this past weekend.
Before they went to Gabriel.
And now it's even stronger with Gabriel. I mean, the quarterback played every snap. And I thought he was fine. I mean, he didn't have a big stat line, but he got the ball out of his hands. He didn't look overwhelmed. It's not an easy defense to play against. So he was fine. And I keep going back to the draft class. You mentioned Judkins. I mean, he looks like a potential star. Yeah. Fannon's been really, really good. Schlesinger, the off-the-ball linebacker, really good. And I've said this many times. I destroyed their draft just because of the process. I mean, when it happened, I'm like,
didn't take any offensive
draft
linemen.
any offensive linemen.
You're building a nest.
Right.
How are you not going to take any offensive linemen?
Right. But the players they took, most look like hits, if not all. So at least there's something to get encouraged about if you're the Browns. Like, they haven't had a good draft forever because of the Watson trade and all those things.
Picks for years. Yeah.
Right. So at least that's something.
It certainly is. And in the scope of expectations, the way you laid it out like that, they definitely should be feeling better than the fan bases in Cincinnati and in Baltimore. Speaking of Dylan Gabriel, real quick, I want to throw this out for you. You want to hear a crazy stat?
I have one for you, too. It might even be the same.
Has nothing to do with the AFC North or the NFL, but every Oklahoma starting quarterback
I did hear that.
From 2015 to 2023, 9-year sample size, started in the NFL this past weekend.
That is insane.
Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Spencer Rattler, Caleb Williams, Dylan Gabriel. 7 straight Oklahoma quarterbacks.
Good for Oklahoma, although they didn't keep them all. But yeah,
right.
That is pretty awesome.
At some point, they were the starter for Oklahoma in that stretch. That is unbelievable. But yeah, Matt, that's I
How about my
stat?
Fair. This one's crazy too. I may even threw it out there Friday, but Dylan Gabriel became the 10th starting quarterback for the Browns since Baker Mayfield.
Whew.
10 since Baker Mayfield. That didn't seem like that long ago.
No, it was it 2018 that he was drafted, I want to say?
Yeah, I mean, then they got away from him right at the Watson trade.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's been 10 since they moved on from Baker, who's now lighting it up and in the MVP conversation, oh, by the way. And then somebody wrote me back after it, and they went back and checked the Packers. Mm-hmm. The 10th most recent starting quarterback for the Packers was
this is probably good.
Don Majkowski, who was like, I was like 10 years old, the Magic Man. I mean, that's who Favre took over for. This was like when I was a kid.
That's
incredible. Like, that's insane.
That's a really good stat.
Right.
That is insane. And hey, might even get to 11 for Cleveland.
Maybe Shador
these go to 11 if we see Shador at some point this season. But yeah, no, I think that's an astute line of logic by you that is probably the AFC North. Not an incredibly high bar to clear, but that is probably the AFC North team that you would least like to see this weekend. Albeit
they're playing better than the other two teams.
Albeit the caveat of how do they respond coming back from London and having to go on the road once again, which is certainly going to be tough.
So now I think about it, I think their defense is the best of the 8 units, and this next 2 are Steelers. That's how bad the other teams are right now.
Almost just by process of elimination.
And it's not like the Steelers' offense and defense are top 5 in the league. I mean, that's how bad the division is right now.
Terrible on both sides of the ball. Baltimore's terrible on both sides of the ball.
Horrendous.
So that at least puts you in the top half.
Right.
The toughest question is probably what's the 4th best unit in the league?
I guess the Browns' offense, but it's probably really bad too.
That's a tough place to be.
That's really bad.
Let's talk a little bit.
I got one more Brown stat.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Not so great.
We got nothing but time.
Yeah, Mike Sando put this out on his weekly column. Friend of mine, he said that since hiring Jim Schwartz, their defensive coordinator, 2023.
Okay.
EPA, they're number 1 on defense since Schwartz has been there. That goes back to 2023, 24, and into this season.
He's a very good D coordinator.
Yes, and Garrett helps, and they have good players. Last in offense, though. Since hiring Schwartz, they're last in offensive EPA, but first in defensive EPA.
I know I'm not the first person to say this, especially in Cleveland. But, man, if they would have just kept Baker Mayfield the way he's
they might
playing,
have ruined them, but at least
a good point.
You didn't give up everything for Watson. And I mean, that's a catastrophic mistake.
You could have an extra first-round lineman or 2 on that team.
Yeah.
An extra, first or second round, like, bona fide superstar skill position guy.
Right.
Whew.
Oh, yeah. You talk about big mistakes.
Big mistakes.
Yeah.
Big mistakes. But looks like they're, starting to make up for it a little bit with the way they drafted this past year. And
at least they have picks.
Yeah. And
at least they're having picks for the first time.
Could have a top 10 pick and a top 20 pick in the first round come the NFL draft on the North Shore.
And maybe Gabriel or Sanders is a guy. Who knows?
Maybe.
Right.
Matt, let's talk a little bit about this Baltimore Ravens as well, too.
They're the most interesting team to discuss.
Just maybe league-wide at this point.
Yeah.
According to our buddy Jeremy Fowler, formerly of this parish, now nationally with ESPN, the Ravens have allowed 177 points this season. That's the most over a 5-game stretch in the entire franchise history of the Baltimore Ravens.
Doesn't surprise me. So
unbelievable.
This might be 2 segments just talking Ravens because there's a lot to discuss here. So I don't know that I've seen an injury list like the one they played with yesterday.
It's bad.
I mean,
there is a grain of salt there for.
Oh, it's a boulder of salt. I mean, it's
like rock salt.
One of them's a 2-time MVP. Yeah, one of them's a 2-time MVP. But like, if you laid out the 10 most important Ravens, there was like 8 of them that didn't play.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, so them being bad, I understand.
There's some rhyme to that reason.
Yeah, 100%. But that was a little bit too much for my liking for a team that still has Henry and pride.
I mean, they just rolled over and
they got killed from the first drive. I mean, on both sides of the ball.
The stadium shots of M&T Bank in the second half, like every time they would zoom out, it looked like a spring game.
Really?
Like, I mean, there
doesn't surprise me at all.
And it looked like the baseball team that plays here on the North Shore in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in some of their games. I mean, there was maybe 3,000 or 4,000 people left in that stadium. It was empty.
Wow. And someone just actually tweeted us on the way here saying they were listening to the Ravens post-game show, and you're getting these quotes, which I'm sure Steeler fans they have no leadership. Fire Harbaugh. They'll be 1-5 after next week.
Sure.
Harbaugh's lost team culture. They look like a defeated team. I can't argue some of those things. Their body language was really, really bad. And like, we lost this thing from the jump. We had none of our dudes. We got none of our leaders. And the injuries are terrible. Bad luck. No question. That's hard to overcome. And Burrow being out is bad luck too, But my problems are both lines of scrimmage were bad since the season started. You know what I mean? Like, Matabuke's injury and the D-line's just not the same. They're getting blown off the ball. They're not pushing anybody around in the trenches on offense.
O-line's not nearly as good as it was a couple years ago.
So what's going to make those better? They were bad to start the season. Lamar's not going to make those better. Roquan coming back isn't going to make those better. I mean, those are fundamental problems. And I don't know their defensive coordinator, but if you remember last year, their defense was pretty darn bad. Blown mistakes, and then they went out and got Dean Pease, brought him out of retirement, who's kind of a defensive legend. And from that point on,
they moved Kyle Hamilton around the bye week.
They moved a lot of different stuff around, and they were like the best defense in the league. Or it might just be a terrible defensive coordinator. I don't know if Pease is in the mix at all anymore, but his resume is not strong to start last year or any of this year. Now, I know he's missing like 5 important players.
Well, if you think about it, since they lost the guy who's the Seattle Seahawks head coach.
Right, McDonald.
I mean.
And they took a bunch of assistants, too. I mean, they lost a ton on defense.
That defense has played 20-some games since then and has been average to bad in probably 15 of them.
Yeah, except for the stretch leading into the playoffs last year. And other than that, they've been bad. Bottom 10, if not worse. This year, they're worst in the league. So I don't know that gets drastically better. I mean, you're bad in the lines of scrimmage. You're not going to fix that overnight. And your best lineman, Matabuke, is out for the year. He's not a 2-week stretch, whatever. So that being said, I can't write any – we haven't talked about the Bengals. I can't write any story where either Cleveland team ends up in the playoffs.
Either Ohio team.
Right. Exactly.
No doubt.
100%.
No doubt.
I'm not so sure about the Ravens.
They're still the odds-on AFC North betting favorites right now.
You said that.
Which is crazy.
I think that's nuts.
Slightly over the Steelers. It's not much of a gap.
I understood it a week ago, kind of, because there's like 2 one-win teams. Maybe they could beat the Texans, and I didn't realize how injured Baltimore was.
And their schedule was front-loaded. I mean,
I wanted to talk about their schedule.
Had to play Buffalo, had to play Detroit.
They played a brutal stretch.
Yeah.
Basically all playoff teams, give or take.
Yeah, that first place schedule, and it was a lot of those first place teams in the start, the first 5-6 weeks of the season.
And they easily could have won the Buffalo game that everyone on the planet watched. But schedule-wise, they play the Rams this week. Coming off a long week that played Thursday, that lost a tough team. I mean, I think it's in L.A.
It's in L.A., I'm pretty sure, yeah.
So if we chalk that up to a loss minus Lamar, I mean, the math might just be too bad to come back from.
They'd be more likely to get a top 10 pick at that point than they would be to make the playoffs.
Probably. But if I'm the Ravens, again, Ravens Nation Radio, you lose the Rams. Maybe it's as ugly as this Texans game. Then you have a bye. Thank the Lord. You know what I mean? Like, need it so bad.
Ooh.
And then you look at the rest of their schedule, it's pretty darn easy.
They could rattle off 7 or 8 straight wins.
Yeah. They could be the team you don't want to face going into the playoffs that won 7 of their last 8. But that might not even get you in.
But I was going to say, that would shock me less than them fighting back and clawing back and potentially getting into a wild card.
Yeah.
Would shock me a lot less than them winning the division.
Steelers would have to fall.
I mean,
if you win the division, it would be because the Steelers have a tough December.
Lost 3 or 4 games in a row at some point.
If this season ended like last season.
Yes.
And the Steelers' schedule's backloaded in a bad way.
It is.
I mean,
it is. It's not quite as brutal as last year, but it's still tough.
I'm not ready to write that story.
You have to go to Detroit.
But, man,
you got to
what
play
a gift.
Buffalo Thanksgiving weekend.
But I bet they split, Ravens-Steelers. Do you think the Ravens are going to sweep them? I mean, they almost have to.
They would almost have to. If you're the Steelers and you go 5-1 in the division, I think you're guaranteed to win the AFC North.
Yeah,
you go 4-2, and you've still got a really good chance to win the AFC North.
And both teams get to play the Bengals twice still.
Yes,
which is
wonderful.
Which
helps.
is wonderful. Yeah.
But man, if the Steelers sweep Ohio over the next 10 or 11 days, whatever it would be here, 12 days, however many. At 5-1, it would almost.
You would have to implode.
You would have to implode to not win the division.
Especially if the Ravens are 1-5.
Especially if they go to LA and lose. I mean,
which they have to be a huge dog there. Assuming it's a similar roster they're putting out than what they did.
Right, and it certainly sounds like Lamar's not going to play, and that's got to be the biggest thing for them.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us saw this coming, and you kind of mentioned some of that too, like the body language stuff with Baltimore. This to me is like it's always tough for a team, I think, especially in football where the sample size is so small and you don't have an opportunity to start slow or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some Texas and Penn State vibes about Baltimore right now, and here's what I mean by that.
I think I have a hunch. Yeah.
Baltimore was, without a doubt, even if you are black and gold diehard, you hate the Baltimore Ravens like you need air to breathe.
Yeah.
You had to have them on your short list of Super Bowl favorites coming into this year.
I put them number 1 in my preseason power
ranks.
ranks. And
Baltimore, Buffalo, Kansas City. I mean, those were the teams.
Yeah.
Some people had Detroit and Green Bay there as the 5th, but those were the teams.
After the Parsons trade, yeah.
Texas and Penn State, 1 and 2 in the AP poll to start the season. When your expectations are that high, all 3 of those programs and organizations too, they've had fan bases that have been longing for it and begging for it, and we've been close but no cigar for a long time now, and look how loaded we are, and this is finally the year that we're going to get over the hump and get it done. You had Penn State won playoff games last year. Mm-hmm. They were in the semifinal. Texas won playoff games last year. They were in the semifinal. Baltimore has been winning some playoff games.
But they're not Ohio State.
But they're not Ohio State. They're not Kansas City.
Right.
This is the year that we have to be, though. This is our year. This is our time. We got the roster. It's all coming together at the right time.
Like they said this about the Manning Colts for a long time, until you didn't.
Exactly right.
Sometimes you never do.
Exactly right. But when you have such high expectations and such a feeling of this has to be the year, and then it starts out the way that it has for those teams, I think there's a natural human element of like, hang your head and this sucks and like this is a major letdown. I mean, Texas and Penn State were 1 and 2 in the AP poll, Matt. It's the first week in October. They haven't even beaten a Power 4 team, either of them.
And then Penn State gets embarrassed in UCLA.
Their only wins are over G5 schools and FCS programs.
Yeah.
Akron and Sam Houston State and Villanova.
And they were a top 2 team.
And they were and now they're both unranked.
Wow.
In early October, they're both unranked. There's some of that.
And both those programs have a history, too. It's not like
absolutely
this happened to Georgia or Bama.
And again, they much like Baltimore, they haven't been Kansas City. They haven't been Bama or Georgia or Ohio State, but they've been really good for the last handful.
Phenomenal.
They've been very good for the last handful.
Again, and DVOA, they're like number 1 every year.
Penn State and Texas were both in the college football playoff semifinal last year.
Yeah.
Like they won playoff games last year. But when your expectations are so high and it sinks so fast, to me, like it's almost impossible to prevent that unraveling of heads hanging. we're kind of quitting on this thing. Here we go. This is a disaster.
Especially when the Texans just first drive just walk right down the field. You think
and when you've got Baltimore's injury report too,
right? Like now, who do we turn to in the huddle? There's nobody I trust. Stanley's out too. I mean, everybody's out. So I did a podcast actually during like the downtime of summer, saying, kind of comparing the Steelers and Ravens in that Steeler fans at this point had never seen Aaron Rodgers play. We knew the narrative. Steelers are a middling team. Yeah, they got this winning record, but when have you won a playoff game? We're sick of the same thing year after year. Everyone's heard these things. Tomlin's only going to get us so far. Blah, 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 blah. And my podcast was, your biggest rival, the Ravens, have had more or less the best quarterback in the league over the last 5 years, and you've had the worst. And they've been better during that stretch. Anyone wants to argue with that, they're insane. Even I know the head-to-head.
No doubt. That's the only thing that you would have in your black and gold quiver would be head-to-head.
But who's the better football team
during the Lamar?
Regular
season wins,
right.
more playoff wins.
Right.
Yeah.
And they got better players. During the Lamar era, they've been the better team. I mean, clearly. But I really equated the two organizations of kind of being the same in that the fan bases are really
not good enough.
It's still frustrating because the Steelers are at this tier of over that 5 years or whatever of got in the playoffs, got beat really bad, went home. Ravens are on the tier right above.
Like won a game, but then
right.
went home.
Awesome regular season, high expectations, might have beat a team like the Steelers or a wild card team, and then can't go any further. Because year after year after year. And the fan base immediately will say, fire Harbaugh, fire Tomlin, And I kind of get it. Can this guy only take us so far? But in this case, for Baltimore, I'm really talking about here.
Yeah, it feels like such an outlier.
Right. I mean, they're in such an awful situation. Maybe make a defensive coordinator change. I mean, I'm not saying you blow the thing up. They're still dangerous as could be.
If they had one or two guys on IR and these were still the results, then it doesn't make as much sense.
Right.
I think you could have Vince Lombardi dipped in Bill Belichick, and they would still be under 500 in Baltimore.
I guess my point that I didn't express as well as I wanted was everyone is so Steeler-centric around here, and you look at the Ravens, they're so much better. But your brothers, from another mother over there, are almost as frustrated as you guys as a fan base, And
well,
right this minute,
they're
right this second more so. I'm talking about like in the offseason, like there's a lot going on, and winning playoff games is really difficult. There's only 13 wins every year of playoff wins. You don't get many of them. So I don't know. I mean, the Ravens, to me at least, could get their doors blown off against the Rams.
Sure.
Come back and look like the Ravens. But the lines of scrimmage aren't good, and they're not even using like Derrick Henry.
It's you get Lamar and Roquan back, and that will obviously help. They're fantastic.
Yeah.
But like that might be like slapping a Band-Aid on a shotgun wound at this point.
Yeah, right.
They've got so many issues.
And then there's just the math of it. Can you win enough games to actually beat a wild card team like Denver or Indy or Houston that you lost head-to-head to, or Steelers or whoever? I mean, winning division might be their only shot.
Whew. It's
and the Bengals are just worse on all accounts.
Let's do this.
Worse organization, worse everything.
Beefy first segment here to get us started. Let's come back and we'll focus on the Bengals and do some more around the league stuff. We'll use that to kind of close down the first hour of the show here over our next two segments. We'll talk to our buddy Rob King in the second hour of the program. Plenty to get to here coming out of the bye week for the Steelers. Sitting pretty in black and gold land, that's for sure. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Going around the AFC North, around the league here as the calendar is in October. The Steelers' bye week is behind them. A couple games in quick succession here that'll start happening rapidly, quickly.
Yeah.
And we will obviously spend plenty of time on those Cleveland Browns as the week rolls along. But, Matt, let's stay in Ohio to kind of wrap up some AFC North thoughts here to begin the show today. Cincinnati Bengals you want to talk about rough times in Baltimore, certainly, absolutely, when you compare them to expectations going into the season. But Cincinnati had some high expectations of bouncing back this year, too.
Yes.
Like they were 9-8 last year with the worst defense in the NFL.
Finished strong.
If we can at least have the 17th or 18th or 19th best defense in the NFL, that's a team that can win 10 games and go to the playoffs. You lose Joe Burrow early on, not just for a couple weeks, but for 3 months, which is obviously a disaster. That defense might be worse than it was last year. I mean, they are...
It's pretty miserable.
I think it's time for them now. Like, you had floated the idea a couple weeks ago of like, hey, trade a day 3 pick for Russell Wilson and see if you can stay afloat.
Sailed. Right.
That ship sailed.
That's
I mean...
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Now it's like, let's sell and reset and start focusing on 2026.
Yeah, like big picture through a Steelers lens, we're obviously a Steelers show, I still greatly fear the Ravens. Yeah, I'm talking like for the next 2, 3, 4 years. Now, Burrow's scary, but the Bengals are in a bad place, big picture to me. I think they're not a strong organization. I don't think they're greatly coached. I think they have some star power. And I have a feeling those stars aren't going to be real thrilled with their situation much longer if they are at all.
No.
So, like, that game yesterday, Hendrickson made some plays early. Chase made some plays late against prevents and things like that when it was done. But you saw some star power with those guys. Higgins is still a really good player. But the nuts and bolts of the team are pretty poor.
Terrible.
Both their lines are worse than the Ravens to me. I'd rather rebuild the Ravens' lines than both their lines. And that's where it all starts. And this makes me crazy from a Bengals perspective is instead of really being aggressive on defense this offseason, getting a lot of new pieces. They drafted a defensive end, but they kind of running back the same players from one of the worst defenses in the league. We're just going to blame the coordinator. We're going to fire Amarumo, and we're going to hire the Notre Dame dude. Well, that seemed suspect logic at the time, considering Amarumo's history.
And he's doing pretty well in Indy right now.
That's what I say. And now in hindsight, he takes the most vanilla defense in the league that was well below average, and now they're way above average with basically the same pieces too. Like, I think we knew what the problem was. They just didn't have good enough players on defense, and they just totally misevaluated that as an organization, which makes you wonder because that's not a hard evaluation to make. That's not like, should we sign T. Higgins or not? I understand both sides.
Like if you're John Taffer and you're doing the bar rescue thing and you walk into that messy bar, that's pretty easy to diagnose where the issues
this guy
are.
Can't tackle. This guy
There's
stinks.
bacteria in the walk-in fridge.
Right. Your line's bad. You've been drafting defensive ends like crazy, and you only got one good one, and he's unhappy. So I think they're really miserable on both sides of the ball now. We were talking off the air. Browning's way worse than he looked his first stint.
Yeah.
The league knows what to do to him. Come after him, and he's going to panic. And the line doesn't help. They got no running game. Chase is still a stud. Higgins is still a stud. But I'm not saying they're dogging it, but they can't take over game. They do a lot of this when the ball goes flying over their head when they're open.
Sure.
And, you can't be receiver dependent without anybody to give them the football. I would worry big picture about that team because I think it's now to the point where you trade Hendrickson.
Oh, you have to.
You have to now.
Because he's not going to be on the team next year.
Right.
So you have to trade him now. You have to get something.
The Lions would give you whatever you want for him. You know what I mean? There's a lot of teams out there that'll take them off your hands. At least do that. What's nuts is you mentioned the draft picks. This is like never happens in our life. Could the Browns have 2 firsts, everyone else has 1. Could the Steelers, say the Steelers pick 25, they win a playoff game. Could the Ravens be picking 12th? The Bengals are picking 4th.
There's our quarterback. There's Fernando Mendoza or Dante Moore, baby. There's our guy.
And the Browns have like the 8th and 12th pick. Like, that absolutely could be how this all shakes out when it's said and done.
100%.
Yeah, it's leaning that way in a big way. Like, Todd McShay did it, or someone did a mock draft, just based off records. And the Ravens right now are picking like 5th.
Mm-hmm.
and
they're
sure
not
we
taking
get better.
a quarterback.
No, and neither is Cincy.
Right.
But still, we could even do that this week. I might do a podcast today just going through the league of who is now in the quarterback market and who isn't. Those 2 teams aren't. But still, how often do teams in the division pick that early? It could be
teams not the Cleveland Browns.
Right.
Well.
The Browns always do, but
and they could still pick that early. You could have 3 of the AFC North teams picking in the top 12.
That Jacksonville pick looks like the best pick of the 4 that the other 3 teams are going to have.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they could have 3 top 10 picks.
They absolutely
They easily could.
They very easily
I'd
could.
say that's not crazy at all.
No, it is not. It's certainly not. And I again, I think Cleveland, that wouldn't have surprised us heading into this year.
No,
but the other
that was
two,
expected.
The other two, completely different story. Yeah, that to me, like it's time for Cincinnati to start thinking about how they keep Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow happy in 2026 and beyond.
It just reminds me of like Carson Palmer, and I know a lot of people are a little young for that, but he just got fed up with the organization. Like, I won't play football anymore if I have to play for you. You know what I mean? Like, it gets to that point. Like, I'm too competitive. I'm in my prime. And what you guys do as an organization, the way you run, doesn't let me get to my goal of winning football games. I can only do so much, and then I just keep getting hurt.
And that was almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, right.
And it's still the same.
Still the same, right.
And I think when...
And they kind of lucked into Burrow and Chase.
Sure.
You know, right,
sure.
you know, right.
First overall pick and third overall pick, I think, for Jamar Chase.
He was definitely top 5. It was him and Sewell, you know.
And, man, I remember Carson Palmer got a lot of blowback for that.
How could you possibly do that? You know, right.
But now I think...
It's a little more accepted now, but right.
But
he was right.
He was absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I think people would look at it the same if Burrow and Chase wanted to go that route. I don't think there would be as much vitriol towards them from that fan base. It would be more towards the top of the organization than the guys that are on the team. But yeah, listen, it's been rough for Baltimore, but at least again there's some rhyme to that reason.
I still think they're an elite organization too.
And I
trust
like
ownership,
you said, for the next
coach.
4 or 5 years.
Right.
Like, if you made me bet right now, does Baltimore win a playoff game in the next 4 or 5 years? I would say yes.
Oh, yeah.
Does Cincinnati win a playoff game in the next 4 or 5 years? I would say no.
Same with the Browns.
Same with the Browns.
I mean, they'd have to things would have to go drastically better.
No,
I mean, they're such a historically losing organization too.
Maybe
that's
cheating a little bit. Yeah.
But I mean, we did say some good things. Boy, I like their rookie class, and maybe there is a little bit of optimism within the organization. But it's to get to 7 or 8 wins. I mean, you're still a long way away from contending or having a quarterback, and they got to rebuild an entire offensive line. Like 4 of their 5 starters are free agents half the year in the offensive line.
Right.
So okay, but in a way, if the Ravens end up with like the 6th pick in the draft, that's terrifying.
I was going to say, that could be the one silver lining for Baltimore.
Right.
Is like
they get the best edge rusher in the draft or something.
Yeah, so they get some
from
stud
Miami or whatever.
or something like that.
Right. It's like, that one down year might have.
And then like early 2nd round, they get a stud running back, to replace Derrick Henry.
They get these 2 stars,
They pick like the next Judkins at pick 37 or 38 or something. I mean,
they're not going to take Manziel or Richardson. Right. I mean, they're not going to screw it up.
They're going to take Kellen Winslow Jr. with that pick.
I mean, those guys will screw it up. But the Ravens, you give them that gift, it could be. I mean, we're way getting ahead of ourselves.
Sure.
Still, it's the way the division's trending right now.
I want to take one more break here in this first hour. When we return, I got a question for you. Okay? I'm going to tell it to you now so you and the audience have a minute to let it marinate before we come back. How many teams in the AFC right now would you say are clear-cut, 100% definitively better than the Pittsburgh Steelers? Let's talk about
funny. I didn't know you were going to ask me that. We did not pre-record this or anything, and I will answer on the other side. I thought about the same thing as I was recording Peacock and Williamson today, because Colts, Denver, some of these other teams are really interesting
Buffalo
right
lost
now.
Last
right.
night. I mean,
some of these teams are pretty interesting right now.
Definitively, like 100% would be favored over the Steelers by a decent margin on a neutral field. You might be able to count them on one hand. Let's do that exercise when we come back.
There's a lot of changing of tides right now.
There really is.
Yeah.
There really is. And who thought the Colts would be in this conversation?
Right,
but maybe they are. We'll wrap up the first hour of the show going there when we return. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It's The Drive. Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Final segment here of the first hour. We will have the voice of your Pittsburgh Steelers, Rob King, with us to begin hour number 2. Before we get to the Kinger, Matt Williamson, simple question that I posed to you and the audience before we went to break. How many teams right now in the AFC are definitively, that's the key word, better than the Pittsburgh Steelers?
All right, let's just kind of buzz. All these conversations, you'll notice, I just go division by division.
Yeah.
So starting the East, the Bills are a yes.
Yes, I think so.
And they stumbled. They made more mistakes than usual.
Defense isn't great.
I don't love the defense.
Still, I think they're very good.
They have Josh Allen and an awesome offense. They're better than the Steelers. I'm not going to give you the Patriots, but they're out kicking my expectations for them for sure, even before last night, but last night was really good, and I'm a Drake May fan.
Stephon Diggs, nice to see you.
Oh, that was huge. But I brought this up while I was getting coffee, too, because I knew their upcoming schedule was really easy. How about this? They play the Saints next week, then the Titans, then the Browns, and then the Jets, I think. My friend went screwy. But
that should be 3 or 4 wins.
I mean, yeah, they could absolutely go on a hot streak. That doesn't mean that they're better than the Steelers, but they could gain a lot of momentum, like in power ranks and that type of thing. That don't really matter, but nobody
Jets,
else in the East.
Dolphins, no.
No. Nobody in the North.
Nobody in the division.
Right.
Nope.
Ravens are highly capable. We've talked to no end of getting back to where they are, but they're far from it now. Colts, yes. It's hard to argue. I mean,
it's their result. I mean,
they're real close to being undefeated.
I mean, like other than the Broncos, I mean, they're like beating everybody down.
Yeah, and smashing teams.
Smashing. It's incredible.
They really are. So I'm going to say yes on the Colts.
That's 2.
Jacksonville, we can talk about tomorrow.
Okay.
I think they have a chance to be. I'm impressed with where they're at, but I would definitely lean towards no right this
Again,
minute.
like we're saying definitively.
Right.
Like they would be favored over the Steelers on a neutral field.
Yeah.
By
I'm going to say no.
At least a field goal.
I'm going to say no. But they could surprise us tonight, and I think that they're trending the right direction as an organization.
I'm excited for that Monday Night Football game.
Yeah,
we'll talk
too.
about that for
Me
a minute
too.
before we get out of here.
I can't go Houston, but I think they've turned a corner.
I do too.
I mean, they're definitely how I was thinking about it today on my podcast was, boy, there's a lot of AFC teams, including the Steelers, that are all in this tier that aren't quite Bills, Ravens where we thought they were, but they're pretty impressive, and I'm pretty firm that they're good teams.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
There's not the juggernaut, but there's a lot of good teams.
Yeah, and a lot of these teams I'm starting to trust, like the Colts, maybe the Jags. I'm not sure yet. Starting to trust Houston, that they're going to be in the mix.
That defense is legit.
And I've always been a Stroud fan. I think they're going to be in the mix.
Their defense has given up like 20 points less than the next lowest scoring defense in the NFL.
Really?
It's crazy.
Okay. Definitely not Tennessee, obviously.
No.
So there's 3 contenders in that division. Colts, I would say, are the strongest. I think the Chiefs are better than Steelers.
I think you got to give them some benefit of the doubt. I know they started 0-2, but they've rebounded nicely.
Yeah.
Tonight will be a big tell, though.
I mean, if they get blown out tonight, maybe I'll change my tune, but I don't foresee that happening.
Like last week, we would have probably said the Chargers. I don't know about now.
They're a no to me.
Yeah.
I think that and I feel bad for them in a way. Like it's just injury, and Herbert's getting crushed. So they're a no, where I would have said yes 2 weeks ago for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Then the alt injury, and then, I mean, Herbert's under pressure every drop back.
Najee's done. Omari and Hampton's banged up.
Yeah, I'd say something happened to him late in the game. Defense was not impressive. So they're a no to me. Denver's a definitive yes. And the Raiders are one of the most miserable teams in the league, too.
Good Lord.
I mean, I didn't think they'd be this bad.
I think they might be the most surprising team. Well,
for being as terrible as they are.
Them and the Colts are probably the 2 most surprising teams in the NFL this year for opposite reasons.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think many people were picking the Raiders to go to the playoffs, but I don't think a lot of people thought they'd be 1-4 and it would look like this.
Yes. So I would say there's 3 or 4 that are definitively better than the Steelers.
That's about it.
Right.
You count them on one hand.
Yeah. What do we do? Colts, Chiefs, Broncos, Bills.
I think that's a fair list.
Yeah. And I think the Steelers are ahead of the Patriots and Jags, but I'm open to the idea that they're improving. Houston's not a sleeping giant, but they're a sleeping big person.
Danger.
Yeah,
They're a sleeping big person.
Big scary dude, but not quite a giant. And I think the Chargers season could be spiraling quickly.
Yeah.
You know, this could be the beginning of the end.
And this is another one of those, I know you and I repeated this at nauseum the first couple weeks of the season, but like, you don't want to be the best team in September.
No, right. You know? That's lovely, and it's fun to talk about at the time.
It's great.
Right.
And the Chargers were flying as high as possible after the first 3 weeks of the season.
Yep.
3-0, all 3 of those division wins.
Herbert for MVP.
Herbert for MVP. Even you and I were saying, like, he might be entering that unicorn territory with some of the other guys.
I still think he is. It's just nobody's helping him anymore.
You lose both of your tackles. You lose both of your running backs. Your defense is okay.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you go from 3-0 and on top of the world to back down to earth and 3-2.
They seem to lose an offensive lineman every week, and that's just I can't speak enough about offensive line.
It's a tough way to live in this league, particularly where I know you do a good job of outlining this a lot, but like everybody in the league needs offensive line help. Even the teams with the best offensive lines would like an extra piece or two. You lose 2 of the top 10, top 12 tackles in the NFL. That's going to be almost impossible to overcome.
Like the Cardinals could use a running back. Well, they could get one. The Chargers need a tackle. You can't get one. You're not going to get one.
Cardinals could use a running back that holds onto the ball into the end zone.
That was an unbelievable game. Right.
That touchdown for Tennessee off the interception for Cam, that's one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life.
There were 3 or 4 plays in that one. I mean, there was even a snap that Kyler didn't know was coming that hit him in the face mask that almost knocked him over. Like, this is just like Laurel and Hardy or something. I mean, this was the Stooges. That
game belonged on the, you know how every once in a while they do like the Nickelodeon broadcast?
Yeah, right. It was when you're getting slimed or whatever.
On Nickelodeon.
That's about, you're right. That was
people
hideous.
Getting slimed and SpongeBob popping out of the turf or something like that.
And that's how the Titans get their first win.
That is how the Titans get their first win. I tell you what, though, Cam Ward continues to look like a guy who
I'm real impressed.
He might be long for this league. He certainly could be. Let's take a break here. First hour in the books, another hour to go. I do want to we're going to talk to our buddy Rob King on the other side, Matt, and then maybe after Kinger, we can just kind of do a whip around the NFL. Like, we've touched on some of these games.
Yeah.
It was a wild week across the league.
Bucks with Seattle was a blast. Denver,
a lot of
Philly
fun
was
games.
interesting.
Denver, Philly was interesting. Only let me make sure I get this right. Wrote this down. Only the 4th time in the Super Bowl era that there are 0 undefeated teams after Week 5.
Yeah, I did see that. And there's only one team that hasn't won yet, too.
A lot of parity in this league. Congratulations to the 72 Miami Dolphins. They can go ahead,
popping the champagne.
Pop the bubbly as well. I've also got some Steelers back to practice today for the first time since Dublin, and some good news coming out of practice that we'll get to in hour number 2 as well. So plenty more to go. Halfway home here on The Drive. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, Rob King on the other side. Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Good evening, Steeler Nation. How we doing? Well, that's good. Us too. Hour number 2. It is The Drive here on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Wes Uhler and Matt Williamson on a Monday bye week, but plenty to talk about. Crazy week across the league and across the AFC North. Joining us now to discuss all of this and more, it's our friend. He's the host of In the Locker Room here on the Steelers Audio Network with Max Starks. He is, of course, also the play-by-play voice of your Pittsburgh Steelers on the flagship WDVE, the great Rob King. Kinger, I didn't think that we would all be feeling even better about the Steelers after a bye week, after they didn't play a game. But, man, it's hard not to when you're just kind of in the scope of everything that has happened to the other teams in the AFC North through the first month or so of the season, but especially yesterday.
Yeah, I think that, I said this on DV this morning. This is like every guy's dream, right? Do nothing and get better. It's fantastic, right? I mean, you had a bye and everybody in your division lost, and everybody in your division looks lost right now. Now, I don't know whether that's going to continue. The Ravens will get healthier. I don't know what to make of the Bengals. And the Browns, I think the Browns are one of those teams that, you better play good football, as Green Bay found out, or they could beat you. They probably shouldn't have won the Green Bay game. They should probably be 2-3 right now. But regardless, with all those teams losing, you're in just much better shape coming out of the bye than you were even going into the bye, and you're in good shape going into the bye.
Yeah, Rob, we started the show really talking around the league, and I think I startled Wes by saying it in this light, but of those 3 teams, I think the Browns is the one I would least want to face right this second.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that at all, Matt. I think that, Jake Browning has been he has to be considered a disappointment. I think they thought he was at least, a gatekeeper type of quarterback, keep you in it and keep your head above water. He might still be, but 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions doesn't look good. Their defense, they keep drafting guys and not apparently getting much better on defense. They've got a lot of first-round picks and second-round picks of recent vintage on that D. It's not doing the job. The Browns, I think, look, a couple weeks from now when the Ravens are healthy, no, you don't want to play them. But
Sure.
You're right. Right now, they're a team that I think, maybe gained a little bit more identity offensively against Minnesota. They've got a good defense. They probably got a little too conservative toward the end of that game. Instead of trying to finish it off, they left it up to their defense. That's become increasingly difficult in the NFL to do and expect a shutdown. And they didn't get a shutdown. But, Judkins now,
he's impressive.
Interior. What's that?
He's impressive.
He's impressive.
Yeah.
And that interior offensive line, those guys are good, man. I mean, that set of tackles or that set of guards, they're good. And Conklin's still good. Now, left tackle is an issue, and Cam Robinson didn't play well, and I think got benched in the middle of the game.
They kept rotating because neither could do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and Robinson, look, he's hopefully they're hoping he can come in and at least be serviceable. I mean, another week under his belt, and he'll be better. He's been a solid enough type of player throughout his career. But if they get an identity with Judkins, they bring Hutchison, the defensive lineman, in on short yardage situations. Maybe they'll just take a page out of the Jets playbook and try to bludgeon the Steelers. I think, and they've got a good defense and they've got a good running back. That's where they stand right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if Cincinnati or Baltimore can say they've got good anything right now.
That's miserable.
No doubt. And sticking with that, Matt, another thing that he said to me in the first segment that was kind of eye-opening, but I think correct, is you could very easily say of the 8 offenses and defenses in the AFC North, that Browns defense is the best single unit in the division right now. Mm-hmm. Kinger, I mean, you were studying Cleveland when we were on our flight home from Dublin. I mean, you're a very professional, very prepared guy. I was laughing at you. I was like, you're not even taking a breather for the bye week. You're getting right into the Browns.
Rob and I were comparing notes this morning
on the flight home from Dublin, maybe. That Browns defense certainly, and I think this kind of plays into of all the teams in the division. Albeit they're coming back from London and going back on the road, which is certainly a big caveat to this one. But that Browns defense is pretty stingy, pretty stinking good right now. What have you noticed about that unit?
Well, and they're doing. I think Mike Hall is the guy they're expecting. I don't know whether he's ever going to. I think he was limited in practice this week. I don't know whether he'll play against the Steelers. He's a guy that I think, Matt knows way more about the draft than I do, and way more about the draft than anybody I know. I don't know if the off the field issues caused him to be a second round. I don't know if he was considered a first round talent, Matt. But you have Graham next to him. Malik Collins has been fantastic.
He's been great, yeah.
Kind of a rotating group on the other side at defensive end. Look, they had a good draft class. Graham, for whatever his ceiling is, he's going to be a high motor guy that you feel good about plugging into that defense. Whether he'll be a superstar remains to be seen. That's what you expect out of the 5th pick. But if he can be a tone setter, Schlesinger at inside linebacker with the JOK is another guy. They don't know whether he's ever going to play again. Schlesinger, though, he looks very good. The secondary's always been solid. So, it's a group to be reckoned with. And Matt, I don't know where Hall was supposed to go. I don't know if off-field issues at Ohio State kept him in the second round. But if they can get him back, that gives them, they want to be rotational, but that gives them a rotation up front, but headlined by, first-round pedigree kind of guys.
Yeah, and they are deep up front, and I think people make the mistake of looking at their defensive line and being like, we all know who Myles Garrett is, and folks, he's leveled up. He's playing better than he ever has. But the rest of that group is winning a lot of one-on-one matchups, Rob, as you kind of mentioned, and they do have some depth there where they just like to keep bringing them in fresh, and Hall's perfect for that.
Yep.
He's a little undersized. It didn't help his draft stock either, but in a rotation, he's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, they're clearly, trying to do the same thing the Steelers have tried to do, and that's build in the trenches, and build your best players, Myles Garrett, no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
And so what can you do to help make him shine the most? It's a good philosophy. And if this draft class looks as good as it's performed early on, Fannin at the tight end position, a second-round pick, Schlesinger at linebacker, a second-round pick, Graham on the defensive line, Judkins, a second-round pick. Did I already say him? No, it was Fannin a third round. I think Fannin was a third-round pick.
Fannin was a 3,
2 seconds, a first. You got another first-round pick coming up next year. I mean, for all of the, for the way the mistakes at the quarterback position have set the Browns back, and they have. What you had to give up to get Watson, the fact that you had Baker right there, and could have used those picks to build around him and maybe been in a completely different position now. It's spilled milk. They have to move on. And, yeah, they got worked in a couple games this year for sure. But I still see a team that if you don't come to play and if they don't have your attention, you could be in some trouble.
Rob, used this on the air, and I sent it to you this morning, but it blows me away that Gabriel was their 10th starting quarterback since Baker Mayfield. I mean, that's not even the jersey that starts with Tim Couch. I mean, we're just talking about since Baker Mayfield, he's the 10th starter.
Yeah, and, and again, I've said this a couple times, but to me, when we talk about how valuable the quarterback position is, the Ravens are 0-5 in the last 5 games without Lamar. They're 4-10 overall in the games he hasn't been able to start. Look at the Bengals without Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the Browns without a quarterback. And we've mentioned some of the positives that they've had. They've had some good players even on offense, and what they've really had is a good offensive line. You start with a good defense and a good offensive line. Your expectation should be to win some games. The Steelers have won games in the post-Ben Roethlisberger era without that elite level quarterback, and we are seeing in the division what that has cost the Bengals, what that has cost in part the Ravens have other injuries. I understand that, and what it has cost the Browns. So to me, yes, I think that we'll see on Gabriel again. You know more about him than I do, Matt. It seemed like the biggest knock on him was his size, and he's doesn't have the prototypical size to be in the first round, but has some of the other skills. And I think people probably said the same thing about Baker to some degree, although I think Baker's Gabriel's got a ways to go before he gets there. But they're at the very least an intriguing team, maybe heading in the right direction, maybe getting that stability that has been lacking at the quarterback position. I don't know if Gabriel will be that guy, but if he is, boy, what a shortcut that is to becoming a better team.
Rob King with us here on The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Rob, we spent probably 15 minutes in the first hour just talking about the Ravens and the laundry list of injuries and the 1-4 start for Baltimore. Despite all that, they are still, according to Vegas, the slight favorites, very slight, but still slight favorites over the Steelers to win the AFC North. Do you see any, like Matt and I were talking, hey, it wouldn't surprise us if Baltimore, they got to play the Rams next week, which is tough. They could easily be 1-5, but then they get to their bye week. And I don't think it would shock any of us if they got a little bit healthier and, rattled off 5 or 6 straight wins, something like that, and got back into a wild card, fight, a wild card scrap. But do you see any scenario where they could, out of the grave and get back into a division contending position?
Yeah, sure. So you have the Rams and you have the Bears, right? Let's say you split before. And by the way, 5 of their first 7 games leading into the bye week are at home, so that doesn't help them either. But let's say you split those 2 games, so you go into the bye 2-5. Well, then you're at Miami, at Minnesota, at Cleveland, against the Jets, against the Bengals. Could I see them going 5-0 there and be 7-5? Sure, I could. And they haven't played the Steelers yet. So could I see them getting back into contention? Yes, but I've said all along, I think the Steelers were a 10-7 team a year ago, and I think they've gotten better almost at every position, almost across the board. They're a better team, including at the quarterback position with Aaron Rodgers, which is, as we know, we've been talking a little bit about that. It's the most important position in sports. So if you're better across the board, I think they're better than a 10-7 team. So that tells me. So I think that people are still working under the assumption, and they might be right, and I might be wrong, but I think they're still working under the assumption that the Steelers are not that good of a team. I think they're a better team than people think, and therefore I think it's going to be very, very difficult for the Ravens to catch them, not because I don't think the Ravens can turn things around, but because I don't think the Steelers are going to falter. And I think that's probably where my difference of opinion comes with others. I've thought all along, I said it at the beginning of the season, I think it's a better team. But we'll see, because I don't seem to be in a vast majority of people who think that, certainly among the national media.
Yeah, you're right. For the Ravens to get back in the division, the Steelers would have to have some down times, for sure.
Right. And we'll see in the next 2 weeks, right, guys?
Yeah.
These are division games. right? So that'll tell some of the tale for sure.
Hey, big difference between 5-1 and maybe 4-2 even at this point.
Right, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So, Rob, I don't know if it'll keep up to the level we saw in Dublin, but do you think the Spencer Anderson next to Washington, a high percentage of snaps, is something that's here to stay?
Corned beef package.
The corned beef package?
So a couple things. One is that, Andy Weidel, before the preseason game last year, he's given a press conference the last couple of years in the preseason. And he said, we want to be a big physical team because big physical teams, that travels. That plays anywhere. I don't care if it's hot or cold. If it's cold and windy, the Dolphins, I use them as an example, though they're certainly faltering now. But the Dolphins, if say 2 years ago, they're not going to perform well in that kind of condition, right? They're not built that way. But the Steelers can go down there in the heat and still pound it at you. It's a good style of play in any weather, in any conditions. It is the best style of play for as far as being versatile in any kind of condition. So do I think they will do that? Yes, I think it's here to stay. But I also think that they are, when you have Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be a matchup-driven approach week to week. So that's what they thought would work that week, and it did. It ran all over the Vikings. A couple weeks before that, Atlanta had run all over the Vikings. Maybe they said, okay, that's a team that we can run on. Maybe in another week you say, listen, let's go a little more Aaron Rodgers. It's why, other than, knock on wood, any kind of injury happening to DK Metcalf, I think it's a better receiving core with a better quarterback and better equipped to handle, to be able to throw the ball on teams without that quote unquote prototypical number 2 receiver. I think they can mix and match enough that they'll find the mismatch somewhere, and Aaron Rodgers is going to help you find it out on the field. They can game plan it for you, and then when he gets out there, he's going to say, gotcha, it's Jonnu Smith time. It's Pat Freiermuth time. It might be Roman Wilson time. It's always going to be DK Metcalf time to some degree. So I think it's going to be part of what they do moving forward. I think I'd be a little surprised if they use it to that frequency week in and week out.
That'd be pretty extreme.
I just think it's going to be more matchup.
Voice of the Steelers, Rob King, kind enough to give us some of his time here on a Monday. Kinger, great stuff. Thank you for the time as always, and we'll see you this weekend.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thanks very much.
There he goes. Rob King. Great stuff from him. Pleasure's all mine. Oh, you like competing to be Chick-fil-A employees here? My pleasure. Matt, we got to get to a break here. When we come back on the other side, I've got some good news from Steelers practice for you.
Very cool.
We'll get into that when we return. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Steelers back on the practice field today for the, of course, first time since coming back from the Emerald Isle in that win in Dublin at Croke Park against the Minnesota Vikings. And Matt, I think
you get that extra practice. You get one more practice.
You get that one more
right?
that Monday practice. Knock off the bye week rust as the Steelers get back to it today, and some, I would say, mostly good news out of practice today.
Real quick before you do, and Dale was always way better at this than me because he knows the rules and all that. But I mean, there's probably some listeners going, "Well, why'd they practice all weekend, man? Come on." It's an NFL rule. They have to, they kick you out. I think it's for 4 days.
Four consecutive days that nothing can happen.
This is what I'd ask Dale. Is it 3 or 4?
I believe it's 4.
Right.
That sounds right.
I think it's 4.
Because I remember him saying that in the past.
Yeah.
Moats talking about that in the past.
So you really only get like one extra practice when it's all said and done. You get a lot of extra rest, and it doesn't mean that they're not like glued to their iPads or doing football stuff, but you're not allowed to have practice for 4 days.
Correct. You gotta close the facility. You gotta lock out basically the facility for 4 days from a player standpoint.
Like again, Dale question more, but like Can Rodgers go in there with the quarterback coach and just grind tape together? I'm sure you could go in for treatment. I mean, anyone that's injured better be able to go in there.
Something like that. I think, and again,
can you do stuff on your own?
Better
can you
question.
just hit the weight room?
And maybe like this is something we can ask like a Damsky or Halleck when they join us in the week because they would know too.
If you're there a lot, but I mean,
I think the 4 days applies to on-field team.
I know
work.
it definitely does for that.
Yeah,
but like you can't tell someone with a bad knee they can't come in and get fixed.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and again, if you're Aaron Rodgers and you're not planning on going home to California or whatever for a few days, and hey, Tom Arth, can we meet up and
I'm gonna get a workout in while I'm here?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything against that. Again, it can't be an official team capacity. It can't be mandated by the coaching staff.
Right. Like I don't think there's special teams meetings that everyone has to be at. I know there is.
Yes.
Things like that.
Exactly.
But if you do stuff on your own, I think
Jalen
the
Warren
doors
wants
are
to
open.
come in and get a little extra rehab on his knee and
He
all
should.
that.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I got to imagine like the equipment managers are around to things like that to work out with those guys if they want to.
Or maybe there's certain hours, like we're not going to keep you guys here.
Good point.
The workout staff's not going to sit here all day hoping somebody shows up.
Someone shows up for an hour or two.
Right. Like, here's a window. Stop by if you want.
No, maybe it's like...
Or text me and I'll be here.
It's like scheduling like a haircut or a massage or something. You got to tell them the exact time you're going to be there.
I bet that is how it goes.
But, and speaking of Jalen Warren, let's start there. Some good news in that regard. Back in individual drills at Steelers practice today.
Nice.
And now, again, this is another thing that Dale could paint the picture for.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers, they have that window at the beginning of practice where reporters are allowed to report.
Yes.
And then kind of the back half of practice, you're not allowed to talk about what's going on, player availability, any of that stuff.
They're doing X's and O's stuff, and
So in the individual drills, in the public portion, if you will, the media consumption portion, Jalen Warren was back in individual drills at Steelers practice after missing, of course, that game against the Vikings in Dublin. Great news in that regard.
Absolutely.
Good starting point for this week.
Now, some teams will even kick the reporters out. The Steelers give you more access than any team in the league.
Yes, they do.
I mean, or maybe there's others tied, but it's their number one. But there are things you still can't say. So this isn't unique to the Steelers. I assume this is what we were hoping, expecting for Warren, but it's great to check the box, that he's back doing what you expected. I didn't say it at the time, but it crossed my mind when I think you showed me the inactives when we were in Dublin. Like, if that was a playoff game, would he have played?
Probably.
I'm guessing yes.
And maybe Joey Porter Jr. would as well, too.
Yeah, I don't know. Highsmith, Porter, who knows? But, I mean, at that portion, going into a bye, resting on the side of caution made all the sense in the world, and you got the win, which you didn't know at the time when you made that decision.
Exactly right. But in hindsight,
and you ran the ball really well.
The best you have all year, over 5 yards a carry for Kenneth Gainwell. And speaking of some of those other names you mentioned, some good news in that regard too. Alex Highsmith, Joey Porter Jr., both present for that media window of the Steelers' bonus practice today. Both of those guys spoke to the media after practice. Both of those guys said they will play Sunday against the Browns.
Wow. Great.
Joey Porter Jr.
So they're already
Alex
saying
Highsmith.
that. Okay.
Yes.
Should have said this with Warren. This is probably going to be a low-scoring game. I haven't seen the over-unders, but it's just a Browns thing. It's kind of a Steelers thing that I would think the Browns, as Rob mentioned, are going to be very Judkins-centric and win with defense, keep this thing close, and don't ask a ton from a rookie quarterback. So I think in a game like that, you should have ample opportunities to, quote, establish the run. Whether it's a lot of Warren or Warren and Gainwell or Big O lineman or whatever. But I don't think you're going to have to be throwing left and right in a game like this. So, great. We mentioned before, Browns' left tackle situation is massively problematic right now. They traded, Rob threw this out like everyone knew. They traded for Cam Robinson a week or two ago from the Jags, who's very borderline and was on their bench just because they're so weak.
They needed a body.
They needed a body, and at least he's been a warm body that's played some snaps here. And from what I was watching in that London game, they were rotating left tackles. I mean,
that doesn't
screams
happen.
That's a problem.
That doesn't happen.
And we know Herbig's really good, but Highsmith's going to line up there a lot too. So great. If you're going to rotate left tackles, we'll rotate edge rushers that are way better than you're rotating left tackles. Great. Now, not to downplay the Porter situation, I was shocked, looking into a lot of this is like fantasy related, snap counts and target shares and things like that. Almost every pass went to tight ends. with Gabriel. It was Fannin and Njoku, and they really have not used their receivers much at all this year, and way less with the rookie quarterback. Flacco threw to them more. Tillman's a good player. He's out. Judy, to me, is kind of overrated. So I don't know. It's great to get Joey back. It sounds like he's playing either way, but I don't know that he's as big a deal as the other ones, just because of the position they play and who the opponent is. You know what I mean?
Big week to have Deshaun Elliott back.
Yes.
And healthy
1,000%.
and a game under his belt as well, too. So sounds like for Warren, Highsmith, and Joey Porter Jr., good news, trending in the right direction, all
great.
those things. That's what you want to hear coming out of the bye week. Not quite the same for Calvin Austin III. I don't think that surprises anybody. I think we had a feeling his was going to be a little bit longer term. He did not go into great detail, but said he's still not sure if injured reserve is a possibility for him with his shoulder injury.
Okay.
They
don't have to make that decision right now. It'll be the next day or two.
Taking it day by day at this point for Calvin Austin.
It's a little worrisome. I mean, again, their corners are good. Their pass rush is really good. I just don't know if I trust wide receiver 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're going to have to play a fair amount. And I'm sure you'll be very tight end centric, and you're going to get a lot of big bodies on the field to make up for it. But it makes it a little easier to put Ward on Metcalf or roll coverages his direction, which he better get used to if he hasn't already. I mean, that's going to happen no matter what. Is Roman ready to step up? Is Scotty Miller ready to step up? I like them much more as 3s and 4s, without question. I'm not saying the wide receiver trade train has left the station, but that could still be in the mix. Who knows?
Certainly could. And I would imagine, too, kind of piggybacking off of what you just said about, I think, the way that we all expect Sunday's game to play out. Mm-hmm. This is probably an okay week to not feel as confident about your wide receiver, too.
Yeah.
If you want to, let's see what Roman can do. Let's see what Scotty can do. We'll reassess. Maybe we'll know more about the injury at that standpoint. Mm-hmm. Trade still on the board at that standpoint. Because like you said, this feels like a play it close to the vest, run the football. Hopefully DK and your tight ends make a couple plays.
Yeah.
And
I think you want the ball out of your hands quick against this pass rush.
You win 20-13.
Yeah. Trying to control the game.
Yeah.
Lean on Bosworth a little bit more than you have. Boswell. I do that all the time, by the way.
It's a thing that we both.
I
called Skylar Thompson Tristan Thompson 5 times at the start of training camp. So don't worry.
But Boz is way better than Tristan Thompson. You know what I mean? I should have that one down. It goes back to Brian Boswell.
It's going to be in the Steelers Hall of Honor one day.
Right, yeah. I do that all the time. Anyway, they haven't even had to ask hardly anything out of Boz this year, which is kind of remarkable, by the way.
Other than the Jets game. Kind of remarkable.
You still got that ace up your sleeve.
It's a good ace to have up your sleeve. That's a nice guy to call out of the bullpen. Mm-hmm. Certainly when the time calls for it.
But that's great news with all the injuries.
Outstanding. Again, I think we all knew Ramsey and Calvin Austin. There was going to be some time there, but for the other
any
three,
mention of Ramsey?
Nothing yet.
Okay.
So haven't seen anything from anybody who was down there today. But
with
of course,
Porter coming back, though, I might not rush him for this one. Again, it's not a.
You'd love to have them both healthy at the same time, but in the meantime,
they get the Bengals a week from now, right?
Bengals, I guess 9 or 10 days from now
after
on
the Browns.
Thursday, but yes.
I'd much rather have Ramsey make sure he's healthy for the Bengals.
Totally.
Even though they're a disaster, but they got 2 stud receivers.
Totally.
Right.
Totally. But I would also think get a little bit more clarity on this tomorrow, of course, when we'll have the Mike Tomlin press conference at noon right here on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt, what do you say we go into our final break here? We'll have a kind of beefier segment to shut this thing down. We can do a kind of final whip around the league of everything that happened yesterday and give some thoughts on tonight's big Monday Night Football contest in the AFC between the Chiefs and the Jags. We'll get into all that as we wrap up the show on the other side. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, it's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Final segment here on a Monday. We have got a big Monday Night Football game to look ahead to and give some thoughts on. But before that, Matt, some of these NFL games that we haven't quite touched on or mentioned yet today on a Monday. So what do you say we do a little whip around the league here?
Yeah. There's some very notable games. There were some blowouts. I mean, there's like
Colts Raiders, which we
Raiders
kind of
looks
referenced
terrible,
a little bit.
and there's a
how
couple teams
bad
like
they
that.
look.
There's a handful of teams. That look
My guy
dreadful.
Geno Smith is struggling out here. Good Lord.
Yeah, that's been bad.
Vikings get it done against Cleveland. Did you see the issue with the tickets at that game, by the way?
No, I didn't know there was something.
I guess like the NFL ticketing app or whatever crashed.
Oh, wow.
And so there were like thousands of fans like trying to get in that it took them like a lot
That
of
had tickets.
like didn't get into the second quarter type
Oh.
thing. Yeah, so there was some
That's miserable.
angst over there and
I can imagine.
in London.
Imagine if it was the week before.
Whew. Yeah, that would not have been good. But the Vikings get that one done. Like we mentioned, the Colts blow out the Raiders in a tale of two franchises headed in opposite directions. Saints getting it done at home against the Giants for their first win of the season.
That game and the Panthers-Dolphins,
Yeah.
I thought were good games between bad teams. You know, they were just evenly matched.
Yes.
You know, and that's entertaining. I don't think Spencer Rattler's terrible.
I don't either.
Yeah.
And I thought Jackson Dart looked pretty good in his second action in the league.
I'd say I'm warming up to Dart a lot, but you can tell how raw he is too. Like if things don't go as planned, I'm just tucking and running and trying to make a play and turn the ball over and but there's a lot of ability there.
Cowboys comfortably beat the Jets by 15 at MetLife. Jets, the lone winless team in the NFL, 0-5 on the season. Justin Fields falls to 0-26 when the opposition scores 21 or more points.
And a lot of their late production was garbage time. This game was over early. Dallas puts points up on everybody.
I got to give Dak Prescott a ton of credit.
He's playing like an MVP.
He's, I think, one of the most kind of enigmas in the league. Everybody has an opinion on Dak Prescott.
I know.
Man, he has been without most of his top weapons and without a big chunk of his offensive line and a defense that can't stop a nosebleed.
They put up 40 every week.
They're 2-2-1. I mean, like they're keeping their head above water, and he's the reason why.
He's the reason why. Now the Jets, I don't wish this upon anyone, but I wonder if they're going to be a one and done on Fields and the head coach. Defense should be better.
The defense should be better. And
I thought Jets looked pretty good in week one. Maybe I was just crazy, but I'm shocked that they're this bad.
Things happen in week one, certainly, but I don't think any of us thought that it would be 4 weeks later and they'd still be winless after that opener at MetLife.
I mean, deep down, I don't know if they're the worst team in the league just because they don't have a win. Like, if they played the Titans, I'd probably pick the Jets.
Yeah.
But, I mean, still.
But they're in that conversation.
But it's not anything to be optimistic about.
Eagles lose their first game in 10 months, Matt.
Yeah.
In a thrilling one. The Broncos scored 18 points in the fourth quarter to win that game in Philly.
Yeah, and I think Denver's a legit team.
I do too.
Benito's awesome. The defense is awesome. Nix is has a slow start, but he's looking more and more like the player he did last year, which is really promising. I think Denver's well coached. I know that. But the thing that stood out to me from that game is the Eagles always play with. I mean, during that stretch of winning all those games, they didn't play from behind very often, and they didn't in this game either. Still, Saquon got 6 carries in this game.
Whew.
How do you do that with a big lead late in the game when you have that guy?
That's malpractice.
Yeah, that's insane.
I mean, there's no other way around it.
I mean, you're begging for it to let a team back into it. You got that guy. Give him the ball.
Crazy. And I tell you what, hard to complain if you're Philly. And again, it's the first time you've lost a game in 10 months. But that one, certainly a lot of decisions that they would want back in that one. Panthers, as you mentioned, take care of the Dolphins.
Yeah, bad teams, but
could be it for Mike McDaniel. But the Panthers, hey, 2-3, hanging around, not falling apart.
They have some fun games.
They do.
Bryce Young played well. I think those are 2 really bad defenses.
Bryce Young is still tough to evaluate.
Yeah, he's not for me. But
I don't think so either. But hey, he made some plays in that one. Certainly. We talked about Texans and Ravens and that blowout in Baltimore. Tennessee gets their first win. Cam Ward gets his first win. Crazy one against the Cardinals. A lot of bizarre, fluky turnovers.
Terrible.
Arizona, though, definitely, kicking themselves today that they let that one get away.
Yeah, I can't remember if we talked about this on the air or off the air, but, there were 3 or 4 plays of just neither team wants to win that game.
Right.
And the most notable is he drops the ball before he goes over the goal line. That's the second time it's happened in the league in a couple weeks. And they win that game if he at least just scores the touchdown and doesn't drop the ball at the 1-inch line. But good for Ward. He's very impressive in terms of tools, and the Titans need to win any way they possibly could. And that knocked me out of my eliminator. I think a lot of people had Arizona in that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had the Cardinals in that one.
Did
Me
you?
as well.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
out.
Hey, we made it to October.
Not bad.
And what might have been the most exciting game of the weekend, thrilling one in Seattle,
Oh, yeah.
as the Bucks beat the Seahawks 38-35.
I think it's 2 playoff teams. Maybe they'll meet again. I mean, both those teams should be really happy with where they're at.
Good quarterback play in that
That's
one.
what I was going to say. Is
Sam Darnold's playing well, man.
really well. And the Steelers' loss to Seattle does not look bad at all right now, by the way. They're a top 8 type of team. And this is really evenly matched. And what I got a kick out of was Baker and Darnold, same draft class, weird paths to get where they are, but they look like they're home and just couldn't do anything wrong. And they're throwing to these 2 young Ohio State receivers that are just lighting up the defense. Ibuka's unbelievable right now.
He really is.
And I felt for Darnold because the play that, quote, lost them the game gets tipped, hits off someone's helmet, picked off, and that was like the only bad thing that either quarterback did the whole day.
Mm-hmm.
I think there might have been more touchdowns scored than incompletions in that game. It was really I heard that today, but I didn't fact check it.
Which I think was a little surprising just because how good that Seahawks defense had been.
Expected more from both defenses, to be
Yeah.
honest. But, right.
But a great game between, like you said, I think 2 playoff teams and 2 teams that could meet up once again sometime in January. Lions get it done, much more convincing than the final score looked. I mean, they still won
Smashed
by
them.
13,
Yeah.
but it took a 21-point garbage time fourth quarter from the Bengals to make that even look a little respectable. The Lions, at one point in the driver's seat, like you mentioned this last week, I mean, that's what they do with Dan Campbell. They beat up on bad teams.
They smash bad teams, yeah.
And again, I think after week 1, a lot of people thought, okay, the Lions are unraveling a little bit. That Super Bowl window is closed after they went to Lambeau and got beat up by the Packers. 4 straight wins and looking much more like the team that they've been over the last handful of years. Lately.
Yeah, and should have even mentioned this with Baker, but I think Baker and Goff, and we threw out Dak, MVP-ish votes for all those guys. You know? I mean, it's not the obvious Lamar, Allen, like those guys are in that conversation right now.
They sure are. They sure are. One guy who was in that conversation, now the team and himself coming back to earth a little bit, Justin Herbert. Chargers went up 10-0 in the first quarter.
Yeah,
and then
hold on.
27 unanswered for the Commanders to win there in L.A. 27-10.
Chargers defense let them down. I mean, DeCrosky Merritt was really, really good in this game.
Really good.
And Daniels coming back went a long way. Debo's been a really nice acquisition for them. I also just think the Chargers are kind of unraveling.
Yeah, after a really successful start to the season, it's gone the opposite way for them. And then Matt, and hey, what might have been the most surprising result of the weekend? The Buffalo Bills fall at home. The last time they'll face, well, I guess it could happen in the playoffs still, to be fair. But the last time in the regular season that they will host the Patriots there in Orchard Park.
In that building,
In that building before moving across the street next year. The Bills dropped their first one. Great game from Drake May. Great revenge game from Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, and good for them that they hunt. In another podcast, I talked a lot about how, the Patriots always owned that division, and they would smash all the little brothers before they could ever grow up.
Yep.
And I thought maybe the Bills would do that to the Patriots. Like, who's going to be the scariest team to challenge Josh Allen in the next couple of years? It's definitely the Patriots in that division. And little brother landed a few punches there. I mean, like, okay.
Just a few.
Yeah. And May is my guy. I think he's great. But to me, the biggest thing that happened, which is very un-Bills-like, was a lot of mistakes from the Bills. I mean, they're always like top of the league in turnover differential. Allen doesn't take sacks.
Team.
Yeah. They don't ever beat themselves. And last night they did a little bit.
They sure did. And yeah, I tell you what, definitely feeling as good in New England as they have in the post-Tom Brady era. I think they got a dude in Drake May.
They do.
So one of their I don't know if you saw this. One of the Patriots fans who was there at the game had a sign. The Bills wore those like icy uniforms.
Oh, I know.
They called them like the ice white uniforms. There was a Patriots fan that they showed post-game holding up a sign that says "Ice melts in May," and it was M-A-Y.
Nice. There you go. Okay.
I thought that was pretty good. Finally, Matt, tonight a good one on Monday Night Football tonight down in Jacksonville. The 3-1 Jags, who all of a sudden, I mean, there's a real race in that division with obviously keeping up with Indy, and the Texans look like they're back to life. That could be one of the more fun, I think, division races to watch here in the NFL this season.
One of the divisions you can see 3 teams really being in the mix. Yeah,
absolutely. And it could come down to tiebreaker scenarios as to who wins and gets the home playoff game against the Chiefs, who, first 2 weeks did not go their way. They've responded and won 2 in a row since then. Game, like I mentioned, in Jacksonville tonight at Everbank Stadium. Kansas City 3.5-point favorites on the road.
Now, there's one organization I trust to no end, and there's one that always lets you down. And maybe KC just steamrolls them tonight, and we're like, same old Chiefs, same old Jags. But I also look at it like the Jags never host primetime games anymore. The Chiefs do this all the time. This is nothing. And this is
like
kind
the
of
third one they've played in already this year.
Kind of their Super Bowl a little bit. Are we legit or not? The whole world's watching. Trevor, new coach, Hunter, Thomas, all these guys.
Yeah.
Are they ready to be legit?
You win tonight, and you move to 4-1.
Yeah,
and you stay
right.
lock and step with the Colts. And
I know it's one game, and I always hesitate to do this, but my opinion, one way or another, on the Jags could change pretty drastically.
I think that's the beauty of football.
Yeah, it is.
At every level, one game can have such an impact on how you feel about yourself, on the perception of you around the league.
Yeah.
And tonight's certainly that for Jacksonville. You're right. They win, and it's like they're 4-1.
Or even if they just do battle with them to the end, and Mahomes is tearing them up, and Lawrence is answering, and okay.
These guys are legit. These guys can make some noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Kansas City goes in there and wins by 13, then it's like, okay, here come the Chiefs and same old Jags. That's a very intriguing one tonight.
I think the Chiefs are turning the corner and getting dangerous again.
I think so, too. Getting some health, getting some guys back.
They actually have some guys that can run now. They're not, they're not relying on Juju and a shell of Kelsey and bad running backs. I mean, they got some guys that can move a little bit now.
Yeah. We will absolutely recap that one and give some thoughts on that one tomorrow on the show. We'll also do our Tuesday power rankings.
Yeah.
We'll have everything from the Mike Tomlin press conference. A lot of these injuries that we've discussed and speculated upon since Dublin. We'll get some clarity from the head coach tomorrow. We'll also talk to our buddy Chris Adamski as well, too. So a jam-packed Tuesday for you coming out of the bye week. Matt and I want to do a little almost like quarter poll conversation, I guess you can put it.
Steelers bye week too, give us a little extra time.
Yeah, some awards and some division winners and some predictions as well too. We'll get into all of that and more on the show tomorrow. Matt, good stuff today. Enjoyed this today.
It was fun. Went around the league a little more than usual, but Steelers didn't do anything this weekend.
And there was plenty to talk about in the AFC North for
sure.
Oh
man.
Big thanks to Rob King for joining us and to our video producer Tyler V, Mr. TV, as always, for making us look good on YouTube. That'll do it for today. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow. As always, you know where to find us. It's on your 24/7 home of the black and gold, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network.